Colorado competes with a lot of hotbeds, geographic hotbeds around the country. Silicon Valley, obviously, Boston, Austin to some degree. So what opportunities do you think are unique to the Colorado geography, if there are unique opportunities? And what local attributes do you think really are attracting the entrepreneurs here to Colorado? So Mike, do you want to lead us out there, or who wants to take this one first?
Well, I can. I guess for us, we don't spend a lot of time, frankly, with the VC sort of community. And I think one of the things we've learned, just to go back to the last question.
So some of my best friends are VCs.
Well, it's just as we operate a business, one of the things we learned back at the turn of the decade was there was all these incubators strategies and a lot of focus around doing things new ways, right? And I remember vividly going to the industry trade show, Supercom, at the time in 2000, and looking at the floor and saying, this is where innovation is happening. It used to be innovation happened at places like Bell Labs, right? But there was a 180-degree shift in how things got to market and technologies were delivered to companies. Our focus, for better or worse, is when you put something into the network, you don't really take it out in a matter of 60 days, 90 days, 3-5 years, right? It lasts a long time. So when we talk to people about new technologies, new capabilities, we want to make sure there's that track record in place and that there's the funded business plan and that it's going to last a long time. And so when we think about what draws people to those sorts of startups, I see another shift happening where you don't have to be in a particular place like Silicon Valley in order to have the next great idea. The network has fundamentally changed, so it's more open and it's a platform for people to drop these applications on. And we're seeing kind of the network operators building open architecture to the application service providers delivering those applications wherever their customers might be. And so the shift happens so people can take advantage of wonderful places like Colorado where they want to live, where they have this ecosystem around them to take advantage of.
Maybe I'll chip in. I guess I do spend a lot of time with private equity groups, certainly for the last year and a bit. They're a fundamental feedstock for the business that we're trying to build. But it starts with what the entrepreneur likes, and I think that private equity guys are a lot less fussed about necessarily where their entrepreneurs are, other than they're in a place where they want to stay for a while and they're going to build a business that has longevity in that environment. I clearly didn't grow up here in Colorado, but I tell you what, I came here for a specific reason, and that's the reason that it makes it very hard for me to contemplate leaving, and gives me great comfort, and therefore gives my investors great comfort in building a business that is headquartered here, because it's a wonderful environment to live and to raise a family. It's clearly an environment that is incredibly rich with ideation and talent right throughout the spectrum of management. I'm always stunned at the quality of very young talent that it has high aspirations, which is when you're a little more senior in the world. It's nice to see that, because you can't just build a company with C-level executives. And I think that the other point I'd make is that the talent pool is significant. You get a sense for how the paths amongst this panel have crossed over the years. Jack told his story about working for Dan. Well, I worked for Dan, and I also worked for Jack in my last 10 years. I am incredibly scarred from that. I will share stories willingly. But there's an incredible network that operates here, and the confidence that, quite frankly, I have, my partner has, and our investors have in our ability to actually not only bring a business to life from a financial perspective, but also actually go and attract and retain the talent in this environment is significant. And investors don't care necessarily where you're based. They care who you are, the robustness of your business plan, and then your ability to build out that business wherever you choose to headquarter it. And Colorado, to a certain extent, based on some of the success that's on this panel, gives those folks great comfort.
I think Colorado is if you just look at the history, the cable industry pretty much started here in Colorado. there have been a lot of very successful startups. You could argue, Level 3, Zayo, Qwest, Qwest prior to US West, and then a lot of established companies like US West prior to Qwest, all were giant telecom companies here based in Colorado. And when you think of it, you take a step back and say, gosh, is there any other place where there has been that much telecom activity? It's really kind of hard to find, even across the country, in one particular place. Perhaps DC would rival that, but from a services perspective. And look, I wouldn't underestimate the fact that this is a great place to live, and we have a world-class university right here in our backyard that I think has given us great technical and business and legal talent along the way that we've certainly capitalized, and I think many companies have capitalized. So I mean, that's a great sort of formula for success.
And Dan and both of you have recently attracted out-of-state capital here to Colorado. I mean, was there difficulty doing that? And I know, Dan, you especially, I mean, you have a lot of out-of-state capital that you've attracted, but do you see any aversion at all to the geography?
I would answer that by saying that I don't think that there's an aversion to the geography, and I think that a lot of people do value that this is a strong telecom community, and folks do make it a regular stop if they are looking at various companies across the United States. I do think that it is tougher now for venture stage deals to get done in Colorado because there's a little bit less venture capital than there was just 5 years ago. And I do think that it makes a difference being able to be, within a short distance of your portfolio companies. But that's not a big difference in today's world. My investor, I only have one, thankfully, at this stage, is out of Charlotte, and it's due to a long-standing relationship where I've known the managing director there for about 16 years now. And so the comfort level is super high, and I think that has driven the decision much more than geography. And I'd say that that's mostly the case for most entrepreneurs, especially folks that are in the private equity world or working with private equity investors.
Yeah, Art only has one investor, but that investor has deep, deep, deep pockets. It's very established and very well-known investor. I think I'm almost going to answer the opposite question you asked Don, and that is how can Colorado kind of raise its game a little bit? The areas that Don mentioned are the most successful areas when it comes to establishing new businesses. So we're measuring ourselves against the best areas, but I don't think we're quite there, and I think Colorado has an opportunity to get there. And I think we have to build tighter bonds between the university systems and the entrepreneurial community, and I think the entrepreneurial community has to kind of really rally around one another. I think we can work together and do work together in the telecom and internet to really raise our profile as being kind of an area, geography that has a lot of talent and can be funded, and the kind of investors that we've been working with are starting to fund one another. I know there's some of Grant's investors are investors in businesses I've been involved with, and Don has been plugged into that community as well, and NGT, the company he most recently was overseeing, had a common investor group that I've shared as well, and I think we could really take advantage of one another's success to really establish this as a great geography.